I honestly feel like I could go in like 100 different directions with this video today. And I got to be honest, I'm still flying high after that win yesterday. I am feeling so good about this Lions team. I understand it was the Jags. I understand we made it look like Alabama versus Mercer out there. Like I've made this same connection and correlation multiple times, but I am so excited about this team. That's the kind of win I enjoy. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a benching of an ex-Lions player that is absolutely hilarious to me. I'm going to talk about some good news that the Lions have received following this win against the Jags. And then I'm going to also talk about the bad news a little bit later in this video. So for the first one that I have to admit, like, I'm not happy about this. It's not that I'm sitting here hitting on this player, like trashing them. I just found it to be very interesting. In the off season, we had a player, all right, and his name was Jonah Jackson. And he went and he signed for a large amount of money, somewhere around 17 million a year. I think it was 16, 14, 15 million a year. And a lot of people were wondering, like, should the Lions pay him? We talked about, no, that's not the guy. He signed with the Rams. The Rams have benched him. Jonah Jackson, in his first year, while being paid a top 5 guard in the NFL, has officially been benched. The Detroit Lions, in order to replace him, have signed Zeitler, and we knew that. All right? Just in case anyone's wondering, PFF scores through week 11. Zeitler, 87.8. Jonah Jackson, 53.4. All right, look, I understand PFF ratings aren't the end-all, be-all, but one guy's thriving in this system in Detroit while the other guy just got benched. So maybe those PF ratings in this case are actually pretty accurate. I thought that was very, very interesting. Maybe that's, I guess, good news, is it just shows that, once again, Brad Holmes is a genius. He did the right thing. Now, I want to reflect on yesterday's game for a little bit. And I want to talk about one guy in particular, and that one guy is Jared Goff. I am absolutely blown away by the way this guy plays, and so I think is Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell had this to say when he talked to the media. He said he continues to play at a high level. I mentioned this just a minute ago. There's a ton of things I appreciate about him, but one of them is that whatever it was or wasn't last week, and I said this, he didn't play a bad game. Those circumstances and what went down were just, it was bizarre. He also said, no, I'm not surprised. That's the type of player we have. That's the type of football player. That's the type of football he's been playing for a while now. So he's a stud. All right, here's the thing about Jared Goff. We all loved Matt Stafford, his, just gun it, throw caution to the wind, lay his body on the line type of quarterback that he was. Jared Goff is everything. I'm going to make the argument that we really wished Matt Stafford was. He is more consistent. He plays well with a lead. He plays well from behind. Matt Stafford played really well from behind. Or when the game was close. Jared Goff just keeps the pedal to the metal. But here's one of the things that I think is so endearing about Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions community. And that is the fact that no matter how bad of a game he plays, and Dan Campbell can say it wasn't a bad game, and he's right. Like 3 of those 5 interceptions weren't on him. There was some really weird stuff that was happening. You talk about losing a tackle a day or two before the game. Like those are really, really hard things in Taylor Decker. And so, no, I don't think his game was as bad as the stats looked. But to have that happen, it could be very easy to get your confidence rocked. But he went out and threw for over 400 yards for the first time as a Detroit Lion. He threw for 4 touchdowns, and he got himself back in the MVP race. That is remarkable to me. I would make the other argument that this isn't the first time he's done it. He did it when he was left for dead coming out of L.A. Let's go back to that trade. In the trade for Matthew Stafford, we gave them Matthew Stafford. They gave us 2 firsts and a third. That is ample compensation for Matthew Stafford. But some people made the argument that because they added Jared Goff to the trade, they had to add the 3rd-round pick. So he was traded as a throw-in, like nope, you have to eat his contract now. That's what they thought of him there, and then he's coming here and playing this well. I talked about it in our live last night. If you weren't watching it, I wanted to talk about it again because I am absolutely amazed by this. I'm amazed by the kind of quarterback that he is. But now what we need to do is we need to get into some of the bad news that came out, and I think there's some silver lining in it, and we'll talk about it in a second. But Alex Anzalone has a forearm fracture. All right, and it's interesting because as I was watching it, I was watching with my wife, and I just looked at her and I said, he broke his arm. And then he gets up and he mouths over, I broke it. And here's the good news, bad news. The good news is that it's a 6 to 8 week injury. Okay, we still, I believe, if my math is correct, have 7 weeks left in the regular season. So the expectation for him is that he could be back as early as the 49ers game on Monday Night Football, which is the second to last game of the season, and he could be back hopefully by the second round of the playoffs at the latest. At the latest, he would be back at that time. So if we have a first-round bye, which we're trying really hard to get, he would be back in time for that. This isn't the Aiden Hutchinson out for the year type of injury. Depending on how far we go, it's not far-fetched. This is a 6 to 8 week injury. And the fractured forearm, all right, is really, really good. Like that's really good because it wasn't a wrist, which could cause even further complications. So the question we have to ask ourselves now is, are the Lions ready for this loss? I think that's the big question that we have to ask. And so we're going to go and we're going to take a look at our depth chart on the defensive side of the ball. All right, when you look at our linebackers, Anzalone's out, Jack Campbell is there. So what you're going to see is a lot of these two guys playing linebacker. The depth is getting thin. It's getting thin. It's getting thin. That's all I have to say about that. I will say that, we have other people that I think could do it, but you basically are down to Malcolm Rodriguez and Ben Neiman. That's what it is. Those are the experienced players that have played that position before, and neither one of them are as good as Alex Anzalone, but I think guys like Rodrigo can come in and actually do that pretty decently. The position that he's playing, that's not really, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, what about Trevor Nowatzki? That's not necessarily his strong suit, but maybe he could play that position. I know that's kind of what they were training for him to be, that stack linebacker in Arizona, so he might be able to come in here and play that exact same position. I don't know. I've seen him look lost in coverage at times and things like that. So that would be a significant downgrade, but that's, it's a downgrade to Rodrigo. It's a downgrade to Ben Neiman, but it's another downgrade to Nowatzki. I like Nowatzki. I think he has a place on this roster, and I'm glad we brought him back. But yes, I think we can piece this together. But if we have another injury to a linebacker, Jack Campbell, now all of a sudden we could be in a world of hurt, and that could be a struggle. So we need to stay healthy. We're going to be okay as long as we stay healthy, and linebackers can be a position. I mean, we were loaded at linebacker ahead of time. And remember, Germ is hurt as well. Jalen Reeves-Maben, and Derek Barnes is already hurt. So, yeah, those are kind of the things. So, yep, good news, bad news. If you like what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to grow this channel as much as we can just because we love talking Lions football, love talking to all of you, and appreciate all the support you've given us over the last few years. See you in the next one.